You're listening to the Scottish Football Forums podcast, the home of Scottish football banter.
The games are finished, the dust has settled, and the SPFL Premiership champions have been settled, and that is Celtic after 38 games. We are still awaiting to find out if St Mirren might be relegated or whether they'll be in the league next season. Livingston have obviously went down, so we know the outcome of this season, and we are here on SFF Podcast. I'm your host Josh. Don't know what season it is, don't know what episode number it is, never do, but I'm hopefully joined by a few guys who might know that, and one guy who probably definitely will know those numbers is Krys. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks. It's season 15, episode 49.
Thank you. There we are, the man with the numbers. Also joined by podcast regular Daris. How are you, mate?
I'm doing well, Josh. Doing well.
Good man. Good to see it. Stevie Beals, how are you, mate?
I'm good. It's nice to have the Polish Carol Vorderman on the show tonight, so that's always a welcome addition. But aye, I'm good.
Listen, if Carol Vorderman was on the show, mate, I wouldn't be doing the podcast. Let me tell you.
No, but good. Pack my suitcase.
Also joined on the pod by DUFC Stato. Andy, how are you, mate?
Not bad. I feel like the odd one out here, and that United probably had the most boring season of any of the sides in the Premiership. So maybe a bit of the Scotland side and the outside looking in at what was going on at the top.
Yeah, exactly. At the time they recorded, the Scotland squad was announced for the World Cup the day, and 3 out of 5 on this pod will be jetting off to the USA. So maybe get a wee bit of reaction to that, I know, later on in the pod. But right, lads, I think best way to probably cover the end of the season is to think about post-split. So here's how it went. Celtic won all 5 of their games. Hearts won 3, drew 1, and obviously lost that final game to Celtic. Rangers, who let's not forget, at the start of the split were very much in with a chance of winning the league. Seems a million years ago now. They did win their last game, but it very much felt like they lost all 5 games. I actually kind of wanted to lose the 5th game, just to really, really grind in the misery. And we were saying it all season, and it turned out to be the case that Motherwell probably wouldn't win the league, but they would have a big, big say in deciding who did, and that very much turned out to be the case. Okay, right, Celtic boys. Daris,
Did you say that was a big hand?
Have you got a time check on that? How long did that take?
Fucking hell, thank fuck this is an audio podcast. Right, Daris, Krys, your reaction to win the league?
Yes. What was your usual reaction? Honestly, like,
he's just found it.
To be honest, this is one of the best league wins I can remember because of how it's happened. As everybody in this chat will know, I have not been confident with Celtic at all. I think the first time I said Celtic might actually win this league was after recording last week's podcast to the guys, and even then I said, if we beat Motherwell, we'll win the league. That's how little confidence I had in this Celtic side. And it's no real wonder, given the absolute state of the season. We've had 3 different managers. Mark Maryhill has been in charge twice during the spell of it. We had an absolute disaster in the middle of it with Wilfred Nancy. Rodgers left fairly early on, and we've still managed to come out on top and could still win a domestic double. That is incredible. And this goes down as one of the most exciting league wins. And given that we have won 14 of the last 15 league titles, that's pretty much every year we've had this podcast, actually.
Andy, I'm just going to hand over hosting duties to you, mate. I'm going to be sick. No.
Lots of people say it's really boring to be a Celtic fan because we win all the time. But there are ways to win, and that makes a massive difference. And the way we won it this season, mate, I would say that's the big difference there. This is one of... this is up there with 2007-08 for me in terms of league wins, because that was another one we were not expecting to win, and it was the rush to the finish that got us over the line, just as it did back then.
Go with that, Daris?
Yeah, I think, as I said, I think towards the end of the season as well, just showing that character and determination, just to get games over the line. Like we've had like the last minute winners, we've had players stepping up big moments. I think Maeda as well, especially during the split. I think he scored 7 goals in the split alone. So he's been, a key player getting Celtic over the finishing line as well. I think Iheanacho as well has been very crucial as well. But it's a great way to win the league, but I wouldn't want to do it every year if Celtic do win leagues like that. It's not good for the blood pressure. Put it that way.
The thing is, we said I said there. Look, at the start of the split, there were 3 teams really in it. All 3. We said, look, if you win all your games and you will win the league. Celtic went out and won all 5 games, and I suppose it's probably a testament to... somebody put the point to me that... I can't remember who it was, but somebody put the point to me that, let's say Celtic, the board had decided to sack Wilfred Nonce 1 week later. There's every chance that Celtic might not win the league. So, are you giving this to the board, guys?
I'm not. The board put Nancy in place in the first place. The only thing they really did right all season was sack him when they did. And even then, there was an argument they did that a bit later than they should have.
Aye, I'm the same as well. Like I think the whole Wilfred Nancy situation, that was an absolute car crash of an appointment. Just the way, the style of play as well. Just any team that just played against us could have scored at any time they went up the pitch. We're just so exposed, and it just, with the players that we had, just doesn't work. And tactics, it was rotten to watch.
Been a fucking
Josh, I know you're host, Josh, but can I just ask? Sorry, button. People often talk about a blessing in disguise. Do you think winning that title could almost be a curse in disguise for Celtic, because the board could be lured into a false sense of security now in terms of recruitment for the summer? I'll start with Krys.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a very good chance this paper's over the cracks now. I think the Celtic fan collective have been pushing for months for change. We have seen none of it. Not a thing has really changed behind the scenes, which is where it needs to change. There is talk of changing this, that, and the next thing, but none of it's actually materialised. We're now getting to that point where we need to start preparing for next season. There will be Champions League playoff qualifier coming around in August. That is the big money spinning tie, which we made a complete mess of 10 months ago now, against Kairat Almaty. And they will be in danger of doing that again. In fact, they're probably, as it stands, they're probably going to go into that tie in an even worse state than they did 12 months ago, because they're going to lose so many players to contracts coming at the end, to loan deals coming off at the end of this season, people wanting away. Like I fully expect Dyson Maeda to play his last game for Celtic when it comes Saturday. That's the kind of thing. So there's going to be a lot of churn and a lot of rebuilding to do. Well, I don't think they've got it in place to do it. The scouting network is non-existent. There's no permanent manager at the moment. There's no footballing director or whatever that idiot Tisdale called himself. There's nothing. There's just no setup behind the scenes, and that really concerns me, because they've had months to deal with that and they haven't done a thing. And it's not like they can sit there and say, we were focusing on the league, because that's not their job. Their job is to let Martin O'Neill and his backroom staff focus on the league. They can get the rest of the stuff set up for the summer, and they haven't done it.
Daris?
As I said, I think made some good points here, Chris, as well. I think for Celtic next season as well, I think there's, like as I said, I think we need strength and depth. We need players in. And as you said, we've got the Champions League playoff, which will be about the middle to the end of August. So I think the draw is at the start of August. I was looking at the teams I think we could have got, or someone said we could have got AEK Athens. They've put us out before in qualifying, so that's not going to be an easy game at all. And you've got Viking from Norway, who beat Bodo Glimt to the league. So, I mean, that's going to be another tough obstacle. And if Kairat get to the playoffs again, well, we could end up getting them again. But, I mean, it's a thing with Celtic recently when it comes to, for the last whatever amount of years in qualifiers in Europe, they don't prepare well enough, I don't think. We've lost to some shockers in the past as well. Probably Kairat is probably the worst one with how low they are ranked in the rankings. But I think going forward, you've got to get the recruitment in early. So it'll be interesting to see after the cup final what happens, who's going to come in as manager. That's going to be a big factor as well. Obviously, I think.
What would you want, Daris?
I think. See, I think it's going to be. I think it'll be Jens. I think it's. I know Stephen's thinking that, but I think it could be he's going to be now with the favourite. I've seen he's been linked with the Toulouse job as well in France, but there's not really any other names I've seen floating about. I've seen Robbie Keane at one point. I don't know about him, to be honest. I think no for me. But then Jens, and then you've got can't mind the other. There was another name that was floating about as well. But
the one I saw that intrigues me is just asking Martin to go again for another year, which I think, personally looking in, I think is mad insofar as in October, a Jambo said to me, after they won that derby late on, I think they might win league. I went, there's no danger Hearts will win league, because I thought Celtic at that point would realise how much trouble they're in. And I thought at that point also Jota would come back and Carter Vickers and Johnson were still there. But I could not believe that, at Christmas, it being apparent how much mess they were in. They brought in 5 loan signings. As their January, they had all this money sitting in the bank, the accounts were released. Nothing was brought in. And I think part of the explanation for that was, we don't know who's going to be in charge next season. But if you give O'Neill the job, and the chat, I see various supporters suggesting he'd like to take it, then that surely is only a 1-year gig. And then it's kind of just an extension of that. Although, to be honest, I was surprised in January that Celtic didn't just splash some money on players, because I thought the entire point of, now admittedly Tidsdale was a disaster, as Chris touched on, is you do your recruitment separately from your management, so that if the manager changes, because it changes so often, it shouldn't matter. But I just couldn't understand how Celtic brought in 5 loans, all of whom, and again, this is, were dreadful signings insofar as, maybe not Arojo, that's a bit unfair, but Jvan Chara, Adamu, Mavuka, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Arthur maybe did okay for a couple of games, but none of them added value in the kind of post-split games. And so, yes, what's your thoughts on O'Neill coming in? Sorry, I went on a wee bit of a spiel there, but
yeah, I think for me, obviously he's not even just came back once; he's came back twice this season and got us over the line. But I don't know for another full season. Not for me. I would, as I said, I think we need to go with something. Celtic need to go with something fresh rather than someone who's been connected to the club or going a safety option. I think, as I said, we fought that with Rodgers, and then it's I'd say Celtic need to try and I don't know, maybe be a bit more braver, like in terms of who to go for. I think Jens would be. I know Stephen's like, oh no, but
it's like somebody trying to steal your butt.
Just with the style of football as well, I think if he's been excellent. Look how well he's done with Motherwell with it. He's turned Stephen O'Donnell into a top tier football player. Even more so. You know what I mean? So it's like he's turned like Paul McGinn as well. He's done so well with that Motherwell team and got them playing like quick passing football off. Even off the ball as well are good. And Celtic need to go with something a bit fresh and a bit different, rather than just he's maybe played for Celtic in the past and just going down that route. it's not worked, and I'd like to see something fresh. But I think, yeah, as I said, that Jens I saw was the favourite, and then there was Robbie Keane mentioned, but there's not another name I don't think out there that's quite convincing. So I think O'Neill coming back for a full season. I mean, if the options are limited, then it might have to be. But I wouldn't be a fan of it. I think he's done as far as he could. He's done. He's just he's done. He's won the league from not even come back once, twice. So nah, no for me.
I get the impression that Neil doesn't know himself when he wants it. He's kind of flopping on it the way he's talking. It's almost like he's like 74 years old now. So
that's what I'm thinking.
He's no spring chicken. But the impression I get from him is this has rejuvenated him. He's really enjoyed this challenge this season. And there is part of him thinks, yeah, I would love to go again. And there's another part of him going, this is the time to stop now, surely.
Mm-hmm. I'm totally with you, Chris. Like he said, like when he first took it, I almost got the impression, even those 4 weeks, he was like, I don't know, I'll do it for a couple of weeks or whatever. And then he got into the wee winning rhythm. And to be honest, they actually should have given him the cup final and the Hearts game rather than throwing in Nancy for those games. But anyway, they did that. And then when he took it again, he's obviously really enjoyed it, but he's a wee bit inconsistent on does he want it or does he not?
It must be draining. It's draining as a fan. It must be draining to be in that hot seat.
But you're right. It's a mixture of being. Yeah. He is a young 74, but yeah, it's a mixture I think of being drained and also getting a buzz about it when like fanning around doing what was he doing? Talk sport and coffees and like fancy bits of London. Like he was maybe like, that's not giving me the same buzz as this.
Can I make a point? No, I think if you're Martin O'Neill, you've come back, and we can talk about this. I don't want to talk about the decision because we spoke about it, and everybody else just spoke about it to the blue in the face, and I just think it's been done. We can talk about how it happened, but if you're Martin O'Neill, you've written off the ghost of Helicopter Sunday, by going back to Fir Park, winning in the last minute, and then going on to win a league title. What more? He's already got Celtic to a European final. He's come back when the club were on its knees, let's be honest, because nobody's seen Celtic winning the title after Wilfred Nancy had left. What more can he really do at Celtic? I think if you're Martin O'Neill, you just ride off into the sunset now and call it a day. It's the perfect time to do so.
I would agree. I think I would like him to do that from a sort of Martin O'Neill folklore perspective. I think that just call it now, because you can only really go down for here. He's not going to. I can't see Celtic winning another European final anytime soon. They're all the finals are dominated by English teams now. Never mind just the Champions League. But so for him, that's the only way he could really do anything more than what he's already done. The miracle of this season has been a topper for a series of brilliant things he did. He did the first treble in my lifetime. He took us to the European final for the first time in 33 years. He beat Barcelona before it was cool when Neil Lennon did it. So there was all these great things that Martin O'Neill did. And it was that little bit of, it's a shame it ended the way it did. Well, now he's cleared that up as well, because if it ends like this, and if he does indeed go on and win the double on Saturday, it's going to end magnificently. And then, call it a day. As far as I can see, I think Jens would be a great man to bring in because of that style of football. I think, if you ask Celtic fans who their favourite manager's been in the last few years, it's Ange Postecoglou. Because of the style of football that we played, that was great to watch. If you ask Celtic fans of my vintage, they'll tell you about Tommy Burns. Tommy Burns only won one trophy in 3 seasons. But the football that was on offer was brilliant. Everybody loved that. That's what Celtic fans want. They want to see entertaining football. Ideally, they want to see entertaining and successful football, which is what Ange managed. So if you brought in somebody like Jens, absolutely. The style of football that they play at Maryhill has been absolutely breath of fresh air this season. Them and Falkirk have been the teams to watch. I heard people suggesting the Hearts have been great to watch, but no, I've seen them. Maryhill and Falkirk were the 2 teams to watch this season for entertainment. And so that's the kind of man I would want. You would want to bring in. I think, as Daris touched on, Robbie Keane probably fits the Dermot Desmond mould. And as much as Dermot Desmond has only got like 30% of the shares at Celtic, he's a guy in charge there. What he says goes.
Yeah.
Stevie, Motherwell's season, mate. I mean, there's a good place to segue there. The lads there are talking about Martin O'Neill. They're talking about various, and obviously they've mentioned Jens. You're you're shaking your head furiously now. I'm not asking you to say whether or not you think Jens will be away, right? Wouldn't ask that of you, but in a world in which he does go, do you think Motherwell would be looking for a manager who would fit a similar mould of style of play? And if so, you know, what sort of I mean, any names that you would look? I mean, there'll be a lot of. I'm mindful of how Motherwell kind of operate in terms of their contracts, etc. So there'll be a number of boys probably leaving at the end of the season, will there?
Well, I think the one that's been announced today is Callum Slater. He's away.
Yeah,
He's
right.
announced that he's leaving the club. And if I can just say a word on Slats, for me, he's one of the best to ever wear the Motherwell jersey. I would go that far. I think he's one of the most underrated football players in this league. I think he's fantastic. Um, and to lose a player like him is massive. But we know where we are as a football club. And I think that there's only 1 or 2% of clubs in world football that aren't selling clubs that can pick whoever they want. Even Celtic and Rangers are selling clubs. So it just depends who you sell to and where you are in the football food chain, if you like. We know where we are. But I can tell you internally that the plans within the club are very much planning for next season with Jens there. But we also know that he's going to be in demand because of how well he's done, and we're realistic about that. It's no different than any football player. But in the hypothetical, and I need to stress hypothetical situation that you did put to me there, Josh, I think that knowing what I know by knowing Kirk at the board and the guys at the club, we are absolutely going to look for some. We would absolutely look for somebody with a similar style of play. Our crowds are up 40% this year, and the reason that our crowds are up 40% is because of the style of play. It's because we've brought entertainment to Fir Park. So, and we already know that the core of players that we have there can play that style. We've proven that this season. So it would be stupid for us to rip up the road because something that's worked and start again. But we're not even thinking about that just now because the plan is very much. Even Jens has even alluded to it, that we're building something for next season. He said it in his interview at the end of the Hibs game. So it's about the next evolution of the football club, Josh. It's about how we evolve this, how we take what we've done this season and grow it and be better at it next year. So, no, we would very much, I believe, still go down that route. And it's just been an absolute joy. It's been an absolute joy to watch it. And I'll say it. It's the best Motherwell team I've ever seen. I don't care if we didn't come close to winning anything. It's been fantastic. I've watched football that I couldn't even dream of seeing at Fir Park this season. It's been brilliant.
Excellent. If you had to pick out this season, a particular highlight.
There's two games. There's the one where we dominated Celtic and they couldn't get a touch off the ball as in the winter, which was great. But I think for a Motherwell side to go to Ibrox and be 2-0 up and be pegged back to 2 each and almost have the gall to go and search for a winner when any other Motherwell side that I've seen before that would be hanging on, scrapping, clawing to get a draw, to then go up the end of the park and have the confidence to get a winner in Manny Mongello. It just speaks volume of this team. It was almost the pinnacle of the team's season because there was a moment at Hearts earlier in the season where we were 3-0 up with 20 minutes to go. We ended up drawing that game 3 each, which was devastating at the time. But you see how the boys have learned for that. They get pegged back at Ibrox, but they didn't allow it to affect them. They went again, they started causing Rangers problems and they got the winner. So just over the game in the winter against Celtic at home, I would say that win at Ibrox away is a highlight.
Excellent. Chris?
I think one thing that's worth pointing out, because it's so slated in Scotland all the time, is how great Motherwell appointing Jens in the first place was. How many times do we hear when there's a managerial appointment?
It got slaughtered.
Yeah, it gets slaughtered every single time because you never appointed one of their pals off the radio. That's who we should have been in the job instead. It's always the same. It was the same when Aberdeen appointed Jimmy Talleen last season. It was like, oh, why didn't you appoint this guy? Why didn't you appoint that guy? It's like, because they're giving him somebody a chance. Talleen ultimately didn't work out, but he still won the Scottish Cup for Aberdeen last season, and they did have that great start the previous season. Motherwell, at least, I think where Motherwell probably fell short this season is the quality in the squad. They are a small, sort of financially well-run team at this point. They're not blowing money like they used to back in the bad old days of the early 2000s. They're well-run. The Motherwell Trust keeps them on check all the time, and they're doing a really good job of it. They're making the most of the money they've got, but that has a limit. And I think that's probably where they fell short compared to the likes of Celtic, Rangers, Hearts. If they'd had just a little bit more quality in that squad, they probably could have been competing for the title. It's just they didn't have that, and that's why the results, not the style of play was consistently great across the season. The results weren't quite up to the same mark. I think the only reason Motherwell should be at all disappointed this season is that trip to Hampden in the League Cup semi-final. That was their big chance, and they didn't step up. And Falkirk had exactly the same problem in their semi-final in the Scottish Cup. They were, like I said already, they were the two best footballing sides, and they both went to Hampden and never turned up.
Both cups are Motherwell.
Disappointed. You would argue Motherwell exiting the cup earlier on anyway was a big issue as well. But yeah, that particularly that one, that St Mirren were a beatable side. Obviously not for Celtic in the final, but you know what I mean.
Daris.
Just as well, I was going to say as well, with Motherwell getting Europe next season as well, Stephen, what players do you think will go? Who do you think will stay? What players do you think will leave? And also as well, do you think you can get through a couple of rounds anyway and qualify? We'll just take it by yeah.
It's going to be hard to say who's going to leave. I can't come out and say who is going to, because I don't know yet. Daris is the honest question, but
yeah,
but I'd imagine that the club are expecting offers for players, but we're the ones who hold the cards here, because the players are under contract, and you've seen it with Lennon Miller. I can categorically guarantee you that these players will not be sold if Motherwell's evaluation isn't met. See the days of clubs rolling over to people and the almost penny pinching, if you like. It's done. It's finished. It doesn't happen anymore. There'll be evaluations for players. If they're met, they will be sold. And imagine, you obviously know the likes of Eli Justin and Tawanda Masmanisi have had brilliant seasons. I'd be surprised if we maybe don't hear anything about those two.
Yeah.
Especially with Eli going to the World Cup. If Eli goes and has a good World Cup, he definitely puts himself in the shop window. But they're under contract, they're Motherwell players. Motherwell don't have to sell if Motherwell don't feel the evaluation for the players correct. And to answer your question on Europe, I think that when we seen Graham Alexander take his side into Europe, with the greatest respect to Graham, the style of play wasn't the greatest to watch. It wasn't. We've seen how, and this was at the very early stages of the Jens evolution, if you like, how it worked against Hertha Berlin in a pre-season friendly for the half against a decent European side, and I know they're kind of a second division in Germany, but it gives you that hope that you can go against these kind of a sides and implement your style. Let's not forget, Celtic Park and Ibrox are the easy places to go for European teams. We've went there and at times have played both of those sides off the pitch this season. Played them off the pitch. So, absolute excitement. And if there's ever a time, I'm going to come out and say this now, this could get clipped if we end up getting out in the first round. Hopefully we don't. I've never been as confident in the Motherwell side being able to potentially reach a group stage of European football as I am in this side. Because I just think their style of play is suited to European football. What we have, as well as when we go forward, Daris, we're great in our rest defence. We're great defensively. We adapt to great shape. We press well. We won the ball back quickly. Yep. I've got every faith in this team to go into Europe next season and put on a show.
As what I think as well. I think see with the style of play as well, if you can keep that into next season, I think you could surprise a team or two, definitely in the qualifiers. Do you know what I mean? Depending who you can get in the latter stages. But I think you were saying earlier on, Stephen, you get a kind of one of the like more local teams. Like, is it like a local, more of a local draw, like a Irish team or a Welsh team or a Scandinavian team or something? So depends if how the draw will get on. But as I said, I think if you can play that style of football, you never know. You could definitely surprise one of the teams with like a higher club coefficient for sure. Like one of the teams that have maybe got to a European group stage, even if it is Conference League,
Yep, absolutely.
Excellent.
I think that's a very good point, actually, because like as much as Andy said they are United are nothing, pretty much with a nothing season. One of the highlights of the season was how Dundee United and Hibs did in European competition. As much as Celtic, Rangers, and Aberdeen were the ones that were going sort of further in, those qualifiers, like neither of them disgraced themselves. They all put in really good performances against decent teams, and were unlucky on both sides.
Yeah. So there's absolute excitement there, 100%.
Motherwell definitely got potential of going a bit further. If they can make the Conference League group stage, that's a massive success.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see, guys. We'll see. Elsewhere in the league, guys. Well, my own team, Rangers. The less said about us, the better.
What happened post split, Josh? Just to then flip the quick, because like, see if someone had said to me at the split, after 4 games, there's going to be a team with 10 points, 9 points, and 0 points out the top 3. 4 games post split. Like the thing about Hearts, and I know that Charlie has been going, oh, they're bottling it. I think the last thing you can level against this Hearts side this season, and don't get me wrong, I'm a bit unusual, and I'm a non-Celtic Hibs fan that didn't want Hearts to win the league because I grew up half a mile from Tynecastle and no too many Jambos, but I was so impressed with Hearts' bottle in the last 6 games insofar as they had, I mean, it's a team of players spittle in it, but Stephen, you'll remember maybe at Motherwell and at United, he was a bang average player. I think a guy that's a bottom 6 player, and this guy's bossing, coming in with big moments in a title running. And McInnes got absolutely everything out of that Hearts side. You go through the squad and they have no right to be where they were. Yeah. And yet they were gutsing out these wins, coming back when they're 1-0 down against Rangers, coming back against Motherwell, unlucky not to win that game, blowing Falkirk away and beat Motherwell at the beginning of the split. And I thought their performance at Parkhead on Saturday was outstanding in the first 45 minutes. And obviously they've just fallen short. But Rangers, going into the split, if you'd asked me which of the 3 is going to win it, I would have said Rangers are the best first team 11, but I don't trust them insofar as I don't think they have the least bottle of the 3, right? But why did that bottle suddenly crash after the split, Josh?
I think you're right. I mean, I think it's right to point out, because we don't have Hearts fan on this. In my view, Hearts absolutely did not bottle anything. They I think, without going into, we'll not get any debates or anything like that, they were unlucky. I think.
For me, there was 2 things that Hearts didn't go. Their home form was outstanding, so we can't fault that. Their away form towards the end of the season has let them down badly. The other thing was they shat themselves in the last 45 minutes of it on Saturday.
Did they just have a lot of injuries, or I mean, like, obviously they obviously had a plan to take off. And this is where having executed a near perfect first 45, Everton Kizarides hand in it. Start the second half. They obviously had a pre-arranged plan. If Iheanacho comes on, we're going to bring on Frankie Kent. And so McInnes, because obviously you can make 5 subbies, but you can only do it in 3 slots, so you don't time waste. Mm-hmm. So because I was like, why is he making a subby 45 seconds into half? But it's because he's got out, he's seen Iheanacho's on, he's gone, right, I'm going to make a sub at the first break. And then 2 minutes later, Beningame goes down. And that has killed them because he had the legs in the midfield and Spittle had a different type of energy. And Spittle, in fairness, didn't quite look as good when he came on. And at that point, not only that, but they can only make, they made a triple sub, but they could only make a substitute at 1 more point. Otherwise they would have managed subs towards the end of the game. And, Braga obviously was injured, hence why he didn't start the game. But I just think Hearts have ultimately, look, the last week of the season, Leonard's gone down, Halkett's gone down, Beningame's gone down. Braga's essentially been playing not fit. So they've got a huge squad, but the quality coming in is not there. And I think they just ran out of energy and legs in the occasion.
I think they ran out. I think that, like you say, Andy, they were badly affected by injuries. And I don't know, see if you're a Hearts fan, you really, you must really feel fucking pig sick about how the season ended, because it did. It felt, to an outsider looking at it, like they have got everything going against them here. You know, injuries, the fixture list, the the decisions, it felt like they had got everything going against them. And like you say, I think all of that probably just got on top of them in that last game. Um, and yeah, obviously I didn't want Celtic to win the league. Obviously, right? I do really think it's a shame that Hearts didn't win the league. Um, it would have been really good to see a team that wasn't Rangers or Celtic win the league. Daris.
Yeah, as I said, I agree with what you said there, Andy, as well. Just I think the legs and just ran out of steam. Hearts. I think Beningame as well going down that. I think that changed it completely. And I think I've said in the pod earlier on this season
Devlin
how
clearly wasn't
key
fit,
Beningame.
and you could see that as well. But I don't think the plan was to give Devlin the full 90, and then Beningame goes down, and then they're running on fumes.
Yeah, and as I say, I think earlier on the pod this season, I said how key Beningame was. I think Hearts had dipped a bit of form as well when he got injured. It might have been January time maybe. Hearts had maybe went through a wee spell where they weren't. I think Beningame was out for about 4 or 5 of their games, and the Hearts had dropped points in like 3 of them. So him and Devlin, I think they were out roughly the same time as well. That it just goes to show how key those 2 players were. Not even just them, but like obviously the likes of Halkett, who's been having a great season. Harry Milne, I think, has been absolutely incredible as well. I think as well, and I think with the Tony Bloom project as well in the first season, it'll be interesting to see how it'll go with them next season as well. They'll start in the second qualifying round of the Champions League, albeit they'll be playing a lot tougher teams. I've seen, I think I was looking at it, they could get Fenerbahce or something, or a Bodo Glimt or an Olympiacos, teams like that. And then if you go through that, you're playing like Sporting Lisbon. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
The trouble they'll have is that since the start of the league season, they've played 18 less games than Celtic. Because Celtic played 12 games in Europe, because 8 group games, 2 qualify. Yeah.
Yes.
So 12 games in Europe and 6 cup ties, more than Hearts. Because Hearts went out in the first knockout stage of both cups. So that will be a challenge for them. But I see they're in for the Star Lizard supercomputer spat out Calvin Miller. So I mean, I think we could have all maybe seen that as a fairly sensible signing, but apparently that's who they're in for, is Calvin Miller from Falkirk. But I think they'll find it a lot tougher next season. And the other thing is, I don't think 80 points, if you look at previous league winning points totals, it's usually about 90, but it's just because Rangers and Celtic obviously they both managed to appoint probably the worst manager in their history potentially in the same season. So you suspect that won't happen again. But yeah, I think Hearts will struggle with managing Europe and that as well. But I mean, they will also. The other thing is Tony Bloom might go, fucking hell, I don't have to put that much money into challenge here, and might get quite, like, he's looked like really into it. He's not a man lacking in wealth. I mean, apparently Brighton are building like a women's stadium for their team, and I don't know how much that's costing, but Bloom's putting money in that. And if Bloom went, I tell you what, I'm going to put 10 million quid in here, because that could really push him to win the league, and I know how to spend this wisely. Then that could be quite game changing.
Yeah, I think Hearts kick on for you. As much as, like, as you say, the 80 points mark it's a new record for teams outside of Celtic and Rangers. But it's in terms of even Celtic's 82 points, it's the lowest 2 points total it's been for ages to win the league. Yeah. And the reason is precisely because Celtic and Rangers both had absolute nightmares somewhere along the line. And as much as we talk about Hearts and their injuries, Celtic got key men back just at the right time. Like Engels and Johnson coming back just for this last run of 7 games was absolutely perfect timing. But you still have to look at, like, we've not a Jota for the entire season, so that's one of our key big money men completely missing the entire season. Carter Vickers has been missing for the entire season. We've been playing with Scales. We played Dane Murray at Tynecastle in one game, and he was a bit out of his depth in that one. Trusty has been good without being spectacular.
Although that was McInnes targeted him on Saturday. It was just let him have the ball. He doesn't even know what to do with it, and it worked a treat the first 45.
Absolutely, yeah. You're right about Beningame. I think that really did throw him off. I still think the tactical decision of Ian was on, we better sit back, was a mistake. Hearts should have kept going the way they were doing in the first half and just
And then if Beningame had gone down, they could have taken out, they could have moved Altena into his position and stuff as well. That was the first mistake, the subby. But Josh, I'm sorry, I kiboshed it with Hearts chat when I was asking. So why did Rangers' bottle crash?
No, I mean, it's a good segue because we were talking there about Hearts not bottling. Yeah, look, fact of the fact is that Rangers did bottle it. It's really difficult to put an exact reason on why. I mean, a lot has been said among the kind of Rangers faithful and the Rangers, fan base that the team needs more leaders. It probably does. There's a lot being said about the fact that Rangers, for a number of years now, probably since Gerrard's time, they haven't really had a core group of Scottish or British players who drive the kind of standards expected domestically. You can say that it might be a bit of the kind of dinosaur thing. It's not about getting Rangers men in and whatever else. It's not really about that, right? But all of the great Rangers teams that I've ever known, have had a core group of Scottish and or British based players as the kind of basis of their team. Celtic have had that for a number of years, and
it's mental you didn't sign Shankland last summer. It was a freebie.
Yeah. I mean, there's
such a low risk signing. If it goes wrong, oh well, it's just wages.
Yeah, there's a prime example, right? And I think Danny Rill done well to bring us back to where we were. Ultimately, he basically finished the season no less or worse off than he found his post Martin. So he's got a big job in his hands. Rumours were that after the Hearts game that we lost 2-1, Danny Rill was irate in the tunnel with the chairman, stating that he needs a different type of character in the team in order to and we can see it on the pitch that there aren't those players on the pitch. There's no leaders on the pitch. We're a team of boys.
See with that one too there, the one thing, and I think you called out, I saw you on Twitter at the time, because Sutton went after Tavernier, because the turning point in that Hearts game, the first 45 minutes of that game at Tynecastle went exactly as expected. Rangers, in fact, the only thing is Rangers actually didn't push home their advantage in the first half enough, because between 20 minutes and about half time, Hearts were gone. They could not hold on to the ball. It wasn't sticking, and Rangers just didn't create enough. Start of second half, Hearts obviously are riled up. McInnes has made a tactical change. But that the first goal, Tavernier points to Skov Olsen about 4 times. Yeah. Pick up Kingsley, pick him up. And Skov Olsen does absolutely fuck all about it. And for me, that's on Skov Olsen. And he obviously has just not, a really fancied winger, good stats, partly got an option to buy for 10 million, which I suspect you will not be taking up now. But it's unusual because sometimes the Old Firm now sign guys that I've not heard of most of the time. But Skov Olsen I'd heard of, a good player from Denmark. And he's been shite, is he not? And not only has he been shite, but he's been lazy.
Yeah, it's been shite. It's been absolutely rubbish. We'd also been hurt actually by key injuries to some of the good signings that had come in January at a key point. Nadiri and two Romans, who probably
Romans is a big one.
Yeah, out of the 4 that signed in January, I would probably say Nadiri and Romans were the 2 that really had a significant impact on the team. And to lose them at that point in time was a blow, but it doesn't mean that I'm suggesting if they'd have been in, I still think we'd probably have blown it. I don't think we would have losing 4 out of the 5 games is pretty fucking terrible. But the thing is, the intangibles that I talk about there, going out and signing, Shankland's a good example. People have talked about in the past. People have talked about, guys like Lewis Ferguson. We wouldn't be able to get him now. Kenny McLean, probably a wee bit too old now. Obvious signings for Rangers to make. And whatever you think, there are things about coaching and Danny Rule and getting a good style of play and all this, but this isn't a franchise club. This is not some English jobber Premiership team. These things matter, right? They matter to supporters and they matter to the club, right? And it actually probably takes us back to that Russell Martin thing at the start of the season, which is why the fans grew to hate him so quickly. Because to the fans, it might seem fucking stupid, but the things about the suit and the shoes and the adherence to the club's, traditions and all that sort of thing, they fucking matter to the fans, right? And when you're a manager and the fans then get on your back, you're making your life really hard for yourself. So, um, yeah, there's a whole catalogue of issues. Um, I suspect that there will be more significant investment in the summer. I think Danny Rule, if another German team doesn't come in and get him, will be at the helm of that. If his summer recruitment's anything to go on, we'll see, because 3 out of the 4 that he recruited in January have turned out pretty good. Obviously, Chukwuani's took a bit of a dip recently, but again, at the wrong time because he was really good when he first came in. But yeah, another um, another season down the toilet. That is.
I've been seeing a lot of people saying about obviously about Rangers as well. It's Danny Rowe is. I would see what he does in the summer. I don't think people are saying, oh, he's not the man for the job, but you can't just go binning manager after manager after manager, time and time again. I would say needs to see what you can do in the summer. We need to see what happens. There needs to be probably. Is it just? How's the word to put it? Is it just like kind of the mentality of some of these players? Is that maybe where the issue lies?
Yeah. There's a mentality. There is a mentality issue, right? Like I said, there's not enough leaders in the team. There's not enough. There's not a core of. There's not a core of players in there that are able to. See, when I talk about driving standards, I mean, yeah, players can come in and say, "Oh, it's not acceptable for us to lose a game." This, that, and the next thing. I feel like under Gerrard, we had a group of players who really understood how unacceptable it is to go this long without winning trophies. But the other thing I would caveat that with saying is, I agree, you can't keep sacking managers, right? However, that's easy to say when you're winning the league every season, right? You guys had a small taste of the Rangers' life this season in Wilfred Nancy, right? And you sacked him after what, 5-6 weeks, was it? 8 weeks? Yeah.
33 days he was in charge.
Yeah, so listen, I hear you, right? We can't keep sacking managers. I've said that for a long time. But it becomes very difficult not to sack a manager when you are in a club that is expected to win every single week and is expected to win every single season, and you are not doing that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how we go in the summer.
Because I mean, I think there is some players that there's glimpses that can have. Like, I mean, I've now seen Chermitty's stats at the end of the season's actually been actually not too bad. I mean, it's actually, I think his stats now he scored a hat trick in the last game. I know, albeit it was a game that didn't matter. It was a dead rubber, and then he scored a couple of goals here and there. But some players like Chermitty's stats aren't that bad now, and then Mikey Moore's had good spells as well. Chukwuani as well is actually as well. So there is players that you can. It's just trying to gel it all together, and that's, as I said. But I'd be interested as well. Obviously, Tavernier's away now as well, who has been the main staple of the Rangers team for years. So it's going to be an interesting change. Obviously a new captain who's going to take that over, and where they go from there, and who will still remain in a Rangers shirt next season.
Yeah.
Committee's an odd one for me because Like, I remember Josh, you talking about him being like a YouTube player,
Mate,
and I looked
how
at the
wrong,
videos, and he was
how wrong I was.
no from when you were saying that, it was spot on. It was a great description of him. But we're talking about a guy who scored the second best overhead kick in the derby this season. But also, even the goals on the weekend there against Falkirk, the quality of those goals is magnificent. It might be a dead rubber, but that doesn't matter. It's still a quality goal's a quality goal, and all three of them are quality. There's a cracking player in there, and if you can get that consistently, there's a start about your rebuild.
Listen,
For me though, I think as much as you were saying about the suit and the brogues and all the stuff that is stupid from the outside, it's an easy win for the manager to get the guys on side. So you just do it and you win, and then you move on, and that gets one side. For me, you're right. You need the leadership. You need somebody that gets it, and I think the best thing Rangers could do is go and ask Bologna the question for Lewis Ferguson.
He's not.
I don't think he'll get an answer, but I think it's worth a question, because there you've got a ready-made leader that knows the club inside out and is a quality player that's going to the World Cup this summer.
He would go if Bologna accepted the bid.
That's the key. Look, see on that, right? Because a few Rangers folk, and I'm going to move on to the Scotland team, right? But listen, see a few Rangers folk have suggested about Bologna. Yeah, I think we should ask the question, right? I don't think Lewis Ferguson will want to come to Rangers at this point in his career, right? He will want to go to a bigger Italian football team or the English Premier League.
But Josh, has he had the season to justify that move?
I don't think he's had a bad season. He's been used differently this season in Italy. Actually, that probably leads us on to the Scotland team. But he's been used differently in Italy this season. He's not been used in every single game. He's playing more of the big games in Italy and fewer of the smaller ones. But he's still massively revered as a player. I just don't think he, with the life that he's living out there in Italy, I don't think he looks right now. What age is he? 26, 27? I think he sees Rangers 30, 31, right? I have no doubt in my mind that Lewis Ferguson will play for Rangers. I just don't think right now. I think in a few years, because I think he'll see wanting to achieve. Well, know that he wouldn't earn money at Rangers, right? Obviously he would, but I think he will want to earn huge money, right? You know, as all footballers do. He will want to test himself in the quote-unquote best league in the world, the English Premier League, right? Or a higher calibre of... Do you know, see the carrot... I know Juventus were looking at him, right? Imagine the carrot of... Imagine you're sitting there and playing in Italy. Yes, you're a Rangers fan, or you're a Celtic fan, or you're a Motherwell fan, or a Dundee United fan, right? Whatever. You're playing for Bologna, right? And you can go back to your boyhood team, right? Earn really, really good money, right? And then there's also this carrot of being a Juventus player, possibly, right? Or AC Milan, you know, and you're thinking, hold on, I could end my career here having played for one of these teams. You know, having a jersey on my wall, an AC Milan jersey on my wall with my name and number on it. You know, there's those sorts of things that he will want to achieve in his career. You know, or he could go to the Premier League and hit the heavy heights of... who's in the fucking English Premier League now?
An Everton or something?
Tiddlesdale FC, Bumley FC. You know, they're probably... what's that one on the south coast? Is it Bournemouth?
Bournemouth, aye.
They're probably able to pay him about 10 times what AC Milan will be able to pay him. So, and I think they play in a similar sort of colour to AC Milan. So they might even think about that as well. But not going to happen. Absolutely not going to happen. Still ask the question, but not going to happen.
If those are options available to him, then yeah, that makes it a lot more difficult to Rangers even have
I
any
agree.
chance. However, if those options aren't available and there's other options to stay at Bologna and try and get that move in a year's time, versus Rangers coming in for him and going, we're going to bring you home, we're going to make you the captain, and we're going to build the team around you. That is very, very tempting for a guy who's grew up in a Rangers background.
Maybe, but yeah, maybe I just don't see it. I mean, but like you say, I think the question should still be asked, because we didn't do it I mean, we did do it with Shankland, and then for whatever reason, we didn't. Where I actually missed my point there, and I'm going to move on to the Scotland national team, right? However, on use of Chermiti, it looks to me like I'm eating my words because obviously Chermiti looked crap at the start of the season, but he's obviously taken Kevin Thelwell's advice and has been working 25/8 throughout the season to improve his talents because he's fucking class now, by the way. And we are going to get a lot of money for him, by the way, a lot of money, and we're going to get a lot of money for Manny for that. So there's Manny Fernandes and Raskin. There's a lot of players, in there for us to go forward next season. Right, lads, the big one, Scotland team for the World Cup announced today. Myself, Daris, Stevie, all going. Krys, Andy, holding up the homebound Tartan Army, right? Like so many people, because most of us that are going are actually only going out for one game, except for Daris, who thinks going out for all three, aren't you?
Aye.
Yes,
is it all 8 once we left it?
Oh well, I know. Stevie, are you going for one or all three?
Two in Brazil.
Two, right? Okay. So, what do we think of the Scotland squad today? Who wants to go first?
Can I go?
Stevie.
I've got a lot to say about this. For me, there has been a massive missed opportunity by our manager to include players that I think should be included. And Grant Hanley, listen, he's been a servant for Scotland. I'm not going to use the word great because I don't think he's been great, but he's served his country well and he has always tried. Right, he's always done his best. But there are two fit centre backs in the country who deserve to be in this squad ahead of him, and Stuart Finlay and Stephen Welsh. Grant Hanley's hardly kicked the ball for Hibs this season, and I know Clarke thinks he can trust him, but can you imagine Vinicius Junior running at Grant Hanley?
Please don't.
Do you know what I mean?
To be honest, I'd Vinicius Junior running at Stephen Welsh or Stuart Finlay wouldn't fill me with massive confidence either.
It's not much better, but it's not Grant Hanley. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
I'm not even sure most Jam. I mean, Halkett, if he'd been fit, would have been the one who I think would have been overlooked, but people would have complained about. But I don't even think most Jambos would be saying Finlay should be in the squad. Welsh might be slightly different. You've obviously seen more of him, but
I think the two of them have been brilliant, honestly.
They've done great for Hearts, but I wouldn't have seen him bringing him in. I know he had him at Kelly, but
and I just don't see the logic of picking a guy who's barely kicked the ball over these guys. I can see the logic behind taking a Kenny McLean over the Lennon Miller. Obviously, he's went for another striker, which means that Lennon has to miss out. And Kenny's always going to go the minute he scores that goal against Denmark. There's no chance that Kenny McLean is not on that plane. And then again, there's even, from my mind, an argument about O'Donnell over Ralston or Patterson. You can pick either one of the two, I think. But
I think that's fair enough. I think that's definitely more of an argument.
Even I agree with that one. As much as he likes Ralston and Ralston's been solid, I think we need cover because our other right backs are made of glass. I would take O'Donnell because he's played all season and he's played well.
And the last one for me, similar type of strikers. Is there an argument for an Ollie McBurney over the Lyndon Dykes? Because Ollie McBurney's scored a lot more goals in the Championship than what Lyndon Dykes has this season.
I think Clarke indirectly covered that though today because he said he likes good. He referred to Ross Stewart being in a few years ago, making a good impression and people liking him. Yeah. And I think that was an indirect hint that people didn't like Ollie McBurney, and he didn't like what Ollie McBurney said.
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, Ollie McBurney's burnt too many bridges in a lot of different capacities. And actually, we were having the argument on my Tartan and the group chat about Ryan Porteous as well. And I think Ryan Porteous is very much in that, came in, quality foot, obviously a lot of quality in there. He's went to a franchise league where there's no competition in it, there's no relegation. And yeah, I wonder, like, players like McBurney, maybe not so much. McBurney with his behaviour, but Porteous particularly on the pitch as well.
Yeah,
sure they get no discipline.
Yeah,
the Germany one was a disaster. And then what was the Nations League game where he made a pretty rash tackle quite late on as well?
Yeah,
that for me was, I think, Clarke after the left him at the last game of the Euros because he's like, I can't trust you. And then he brought him back in, and there was a Nations League game, and he made a wild tackle that he was lucky to stay on the pitch for.
Yeah. And I think Clarke, I wonder if that's really part of that, Andy. Like, Clarke just doesn't feel the one thing that Clarke, right? Stevie, you got your views on who should have been in there, right? There's a few boys that I'm actually all right with the team, to be fair. But I think the one thing that we all know Clarke likes is loyalty, and he sticks by his players, right?
Yeah.
And I think what I think is becoming apparent after, well, how many years is that, Steve Clarke? 8 years? Yeah, 2017?
2019. He came in March or April.
Right.
No, it came out May 2019. 7 years.
Yeah, just over 7 years. I think one of the things that we're actually starting to see is that probably Clarke sees that as a two-way street. Like, he, I wonder if there is something in that situation with Porteous where he's given him the benefit of the doubt after the Germany incident, maybe had a bit of a stern word with him, and then he's went and done it again. So there's that. But Burnley's a bit of a bell end. So yeah, I know he's banging in goals, but I mean, Daris and I were talking before we come on to the pod. For me, Ross Stewart, I mean, that's just a story about what football's all about.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember about, well, no far off 10 years ago. I watched Ross play for the Buffs against Irvine Meadow. And at that point, he looked like a good footballer. Tall, gangly, good movement, fast, strong. Thought, right, he'll probably kick on. He'll get a move to, Talbot or maybe even Lone League. It did transpire. He went to Albion and then obviously St Mirren and Ross County. But he's fucking worked his balls off to get where he is.
Yeah.
And he's a different type of striker. He is tall, he is strong, but he's almost like a bit of a shorter version of Peter Crouch because he's a quality footballer. He's got a lot of talent. He's got much more talent with a football at his feet than Lyndon Dykes does. And I'm not saying that Lyndon Dykes should have been in the squad. He should be. But I think he's a quality inclusion. And I think actually the other one that everybody's talking about, Finlay Curtis, gives us a wee bit of balance, presuming both him and his counterpart on the other wing, Ben Doak, stay fit. I think that gives us a really good balance on the left and right of pace. But we are lacking that wee bit of an edge, Daris.
As I said, yeah. I think on the wings we are a bit thin. Obviously, if Doak gets injured again, we have got Curtis. I think, as I said, right up front with the Ross Stewart scenario, I think we talk about big moments. I think now with the players that obviously are in the squad, they can provide great moments. As we've seen, the Denmark game itself was, that big moment after big moment. But I think Ross Stewart, he'll not be our main starting striker. He'll probably just come off the bench. Maybe for like 10, you might get 10 minutes here, 15 minutes here. He'll get more for the friendlies. I reckon coming up soon. I think we'll get a rough idea to see where he's gauged with that. But I agree with what we're saying there, Josh. He scored some big goals this season as well. I think he scored against Arsenal in the FA Cup, and he scored in the playoffs against Middlesbrough, which now obviously news has came out about Southampton tonight, now that he's not going to be playing in the Championship playoff final, and it's going to be Middlesbrough instead. So it's but he's came up with some big moments, and he's had a great season, and he's just worked his way up as well. So but yeah, I think for Finlay Curtis as well, I think that loan move to Kilmarnock was a personal, great decision for him. I think might see a lot more of him at Rangers next season, depending on what happens with obviously the Mike Moore situation. I don't know if Mike Moore will stay on or sign another year, but I think Curtis will come back, and it kind of reminds me a bit like, maybe it could remind me a bit like the Christie situation. Remember when Christie was on loan at Aberdeen, and then came back to Celtic and then kicked on. It could happen with Curtis at Rangers.
Yeah.
So, but I think Curtis is a great inclusion for the squad as well. Especially, I think we kind of expected more with Curtis because he had featured in March and we are a bit thin in the wings. But Ross Stewart is probably the most surprising one. I would say. I would say that one I'm most gutted for out of the whole squad is Lennon Miller.
Yeah.
I think Lennon Miller is a loss, but I don't think he's. I don't think there's anybody he's picked in midfield that he was going to displace. I think I'm pretty happy with the way midfield's worked out. I think Curtis is in there because we need the extra backup in case Doak gets injured. Again, another one that's made the glass, unfortunately. For me, the biggest disappointment is Kieran Bowie. Because I don't get what George Hurst brings. The other strikers like Adams and Dykes and even like Shankland. I know Shankland doesn't quite fit the way that Clarke likes to play, and I agree. I think Shankland works really well on a two, but if you play him up front, it won't work. I've seen Hurst play for Scotland, and he's done nothing. And as much as we're saying Clarke is loyal to him, I don't think Hurst merits a place in this squad ahead of Bowie. That's a Kieran Bowie that scored 4 of Verona's 5 goals in the last few months. I know they get relegated for Serie A, but that's still a great return for that boy. He should be in that squad ahead of Hurst for me.
Yeah, I'd agree. I would agree.
Agree there, yep.
Yeah, possibly. All right, lads. I mean, I'm not going to labour the point on the Scotland squad too much because we're all excited about it, and we have a number of things coming up on SFF before the World Cup. Let's just hear it. One sentence each, lads. How are you feeling about the World Cup in one sentence, Daris?
Just excited, and I think this could be our best chance to progress from the group. So exciting.
Krys?
If we keep our key players fit, we're a chance.
Stephen?
I'll give you a statement. Scotland get out the group, it'll be the greatest trip in my life.
And I'll say, I don't know, look forward to it. I don't know. Wait, how much is a beer in
But that just summed you up. That just summed you up as
I mean,
understated as ever.
how much is a beer in Boston? Listen, I'm only going for the foot. I'm partly going for the football. You know, that's part of the reason that I'm going.
I'm going for the theme parks in Orlando, mate, and the football's an added bonus. Genuinely.
Oh, Stevie, Daris, while we're on air, we might as well check. Let me know. Let's tell us what's your tickets. Where are you sitting?
I'll start. I'm in a wheelchair, somewhere in the stadium. I actually don't know what row, so that's why I gave you a pure sarcastic answer.
Nice
I've not checked my tickets, but I know that I bought category A, so they better be fucking good.
Well, fucking. Who are you, Daris?
So I know the FIFA apps came out, but I actually went and downloaded it. It's the tickets haven't came out in the app yet. I know
I'm glad
they're
you said
on
that.
the
I was
website.
shaking myself this morning.
I know they're on the website.
Aye.
Is that through the app?
Mate, that's the website right there.
Is that the website?
That's
Mine's
where I'm
on the
sitting.
website as well. I'll need
I
to
can
check
see them on the
where
website,
I'm
on
again.
the app.
Aye,
But
that's where I'm
I'm category 3 anyway.
Cushy. Well, I'm main stand right, middle tier. So, tell me where you are and I'll give you a wave.
Nah, will do, mate. Will do.
I don't think I'll be able to wave at that point. I'm going to be fucking steaming, I think. But I'll try and wave.
Better take your ID, mate. I mean, it's challenge 50 over there.
Fuck.
No, mate, I'm sure it is. It's either challenge 50 or challenge 40. If you look under 40 or you look under 50, they're supposed to ID you. I'm sure
Well,
it is.
I still get ID'd in Glasgow, so I better fucking take mine.
Oh, well, good. Aye,
But no, let's do
that's
it.
those days. Right, all right, troops. Well, we'll see you on the next episode of SFF, where we'll probably be either reviewing the Scottish Cup final or we'll be preparing more for the World Cup, or we'll be probably doing an entire pod on reviewing which of the 40 Scotland World Cup songs is the worst. Maybe that's a football podcast in its own.
Can I just come in and say PG Chill later? I know he gets a lot of flack off folk on social media. His new tune's an absolute belter for it, and I'm genuinely not just saying that. I'm not.
Mate, it's an absolute toe tapper, isn't it?
It's a belter.
It's an absolute belter.
Aye.
We have certain guests coming up. Let's just leave it at that in the next couple of weeks. So let's look out for the other output from the SFF podcast.
Excellent.
And you'll enjoy it.
Well, troops. We'll be back talking Scotland, but we won't be talking league. So until the next episode, happy football.